Oh man, you know what I realized today? I rarely wear my wedding rings when I'm like talking. I don't know. I figured I'm on camera. You can't really see it anyway. So like why bother having it? But I have it on today. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wear my ring today. I mean, I'm inside the house. And I think if I'm inside the house and I'm moving around and editing and cleaning and cooking, I don't need all that on my hands. So I know, random thought, nothing to do with the conversation we are going to have today. But you know what? There's always random thoughts, right? So before I go and play the intro, I want to do two things. One, Small Biz Bites is on Amazon Music and Spotify and iHeartRadio, and a replay is also played on Wednesday nights on Indie Soup Media. It comes on at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, there's so many things happening. So you can always catch us there. And I know I have these amazing, beautiful glasses. And they are, of course, from Glitz Optical, because a woman has to be cute, you know? Well, I'm cute, but now I'm cuter with my glasses. I'm cuter and I can see. So, hello. So yes, Glitz Optical, you can visit them online, glitzopticalonline.com. Or if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you could go into the store, and yes, they do virtual styling, so you don't have to be local to get fresh. That's what I'm talking about. With that said, let me play this intro because we have a guest today. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. It's Thursday. Man, I swore it was Monday just like a few days ago. Technically, it was Monday a few days ago, but what can I tell you? It feels like these weeks are either moving faster or I don't know. I don't know if I'm sleepwalking or what, but it's already mid-May. And didn't May just start? Didn't it just start? How is that possible? But I am Gwendolyn, G.R. Houston Jack. You are watching Small Biz Bites. We are live right now on LinkedIn. We are live on YouTube. And if I may, YouTube is a better experience. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, it's a better experience. I mean, it's pretty cool. We do cool things over here. So we would love if you would like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And let us know where you are watching from, either live or in the replay. Because, hey, that's the beauty of these kinds of things. But we are back with another great story. I tell you, sometimes I ask myself, how did I get in this position where I can chat with people about their life and their journey and really learn from their lessons? That's one of the beautiful things about community, is that we all have a story that needs to be told, that deserves to be shared. So let me talk about today's guest, who's coming to the Small Biz Bite stage.
Oh my God.
Good afternoon, man. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon. I am so excited to be on here. I've been waiting for this. And thank you for that awesome intro. I feel so important.
Well, you are. Just in case no one told you, I am telling you right now, you are important. So I'm happy that you actually gave me your time. And I have to give you some kudos and a thank you first, because it was because of you that I made a conscious decision for every show to share that I am also on these other platforms where people can catch their podcasts. Because, I talked about it and then I didn't. It was you who were like, well, are you like on Spotify or something? I was like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, damn. I don't talk about it. And it was a reminder of Gwendolyn, you got to share it.
Mhm.
So got up that day,
Oh wow. Okay.
got some little fancy Canva, and
I love Canva.
and put some things together. I was like, Letty told me that I need to tell people where they can catch, my stuff. So thank you for that reminder, because we all need that reminder.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
Mhm.
do. I write everything down on my chalkboard over in my little corner there to remember to do things. Because if I don't, it's not gonna happen.
We will get into how we keep ourselves organized, because that is part of this
Mhm,
conversation. But I
mhm,
want to do first what we
mhm.
call fast five.
Uh-oh. Okay. Let me see.
Now I'm going to give you a couple of options, ideas. Okay, actually, it's just one or two. You get to pick one or the other,
Okay.
and if you would share a little bit of something behind why it is,
Mhm.
we would love it. Right?
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Number one, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Really? Wow, you were fast on that one. You were like, no, okay, I'm not doing that. So I have to. So you're a big coffee drinker?
I'm a big coffee drinker, but I like tea. But
Okay.
tea is usually for like at night. I have a sleepy time tea that I drink, or when I'm sick. Otherwise, I mean, I always have tea. I have plenty of tea, and my friends are always giving me tea as gifts. So if somebody comes over, it's like, here's the variety of teas. I have everything.
Really? All
Tea.
right, so time out. If people are giving you tea as gift, was there
Mhm.
something there that said she's a tea person? Like you have like a lot of teapots or something?
No, I just have friends that like to give me tea. I mean, like I said, I like tea, but I would prefer coffee. But I also realized as I've gotten older, I can't drink coffee after usually noon if I want to go to bed in a decent time.
Really?
Yeah.
People have made that comment
Hmm.
about not being able to have, like, I don't know. I mean, I haven't felt the effects of caffeine.
Okay.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
wired from the get-go.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So
Me.
yeah, so like if I wanted, say for example, we were out at dinner and we're
Mhm.
doing like a dessert and we want to do like a little coffee with the Irish Bailey or something, they'd be
Ooh.
like, okay, yeah, cool, because it wouldn't. I'm still going to sleep.
Yeah.
You
See,
know?
not me. No, not so much. I had
Really?
an aunt that was able to drink a can of Coca-Cola before she went to bed. I'm like, I would be turning and all
She's
kinds of
like,
stuff.
that would
How do
not
you do
work.
that? I don't understand how
But we
people feel.
got you down for coffee.
Yes.
All right. Let me see here. Spring or fall?
Oh shoot. Fall, spring. Oh, that's not fair. Because both seasons I love. I will say fall. I probably love more than spring, only because I like the changing of the colors of the trees and that it starts to cool down. Because, like I said, I'm always hot. So
Now, where are
when
you
that when
located?
I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, you down here in the South, but
Mm-mm,
you
no,
guys, you guys have some weather.
we have all, and it's all over the place. It's
Yeah.
all over the place. Like, you could get up in the morning and go outside. Oh, it's so beautiful and nice. And then go in and then come back out at night and there's a snowstorm. Or it's raining or, all kinds of stuff. So you have to kind of be prepared for what you're going to wear that day because you never know.
Well, in Texas, we tend to do all the seasons in one day. Now
Yeah.
I believe we're hitting we have warmer weather this week. I don't want to call it a
Okay.
heat wave per se,
Okay.
but I do remember Monday, it was like what, 98?
We'll see. Mm-mm.
Ooh, I said it's too soon. It's too soon. But I got up this morning for my walk. It was 78 degrees outside.
I don't see how you
We're
live in
talking
Texas.
like
I used to have an aunt.
6:30.
Yeah. I used to have an aunt that lived in Texas. And when she passed away, me and my cousins had to go down and settle everything. And it was in October. I was like, what? Huh? It's October. I don't like this at all. I could never live there.
Man. Yes. So I was like, oh, dude, it's almost that time where I go from working out, let's say at 6:37 to
Mhm.
5 something to beat the heat.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I could work out in the morning. I have to do that in the afternoon, right around 4 or 4:30. And then after that, I'm pretty much done working because I can't focus on anything. I'm too tired. I get so sleepy. I have tried working out in the morning, midday. All I want to do is take a nap. So I'm like, no, this has to happen towards the end of the day, and then I don't have to worry about anything. And then I can't focus on any real work. I can answer some emails. That's about it. My brain is just like, resting time.
I get you with that. Sometimes it is good. So like, again, in the summer, you do, at least here, we'll do like those late night walks or late night runs. Now the sun is down, but the heat is still there.
Yeah.
But at least but like once you're done, you're sweaty,
you're
tired, you're hot, you're like, I want to take this shower and go to bed.
Exactly.
So I get it. I get that completely. I'm down with that. All right, let me get into some food here. What about farmers market?
Farmers market all the way. I do shop at a grocery store and at the co-op here that's not too far from my home. But once, spring, summer hits, I'm at the farmers market. I didn't get a chance to go last week, but week before that, I'm on it. I love all the fresh fruits and vegetables. I have a whole routine that I do where I get there. First, I have to go to my favorite coffee kiosk to get my Mexican mocha. Then I got to walk around and look at all the stuff of people that I'm not going to buy. I just look at it because I already know the vendors that I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then I'll have a breakfast burrito. And then now I'm ready to shop. And I like to go early because I need to be out of there by 10 because that's when it starts to get really crowded. So I'm there between 8:30. Then I'm like, bye.
You really do have a routine. I was just thinking, I remember when I lived in New York, there was a farmer's market in Union Square, and I got the best honey there, bee pollen. And there are just certain people that you would look for. And there is something about fresh fruits, fresh veggies, fresh breads and baked goods.
Just all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Arlington, here in Arlington, Texas, they have one. I have not gone to it yet. It's brand new for them because they were working on bringing one here.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I'm gonna have to slide by and see what's going down. You know what I mean? See what's going down. And before we go too far, hey, shout out to Mr. Ron Foss, who said Texas and all the South is hot. It's too hot in the summer and fall. It is still hot in the fall. People think, it's like, no, it's still hot in the fall. And what I want to say, hurricane season actually ends in November, like that first week of November.
Wow.
So in October, you can get some hurricanes down here. It doesn't really get cool until after Halloween, unless something special happens and it kind of like rolls through by chance. But it is heated. It is heated in this place in the South. Yes. And he says, yes, New York City does have the best markets. You're darn right they do.
Oh, yeah. That's what I've heard. I've never been, but that's what I've heard.
Book or the movie edition of that
book? The book always has more detail and more things going on. It explains everything. What I don't like is sometimes movies will like change something. It's just like, I read the book. That is not what happened, or that's not what that person's house looked like. All the things. So no, I'd much rather read the book first and then see the movie, so then I can criticize and say, no, that's not what happened.
I do the same thing. But I guess, no, I'm not going to guess. When you think about the author and how they have to create the character and the scene for you, it is highly descriptive.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than seeing the movie edition of it and you're like, that's just not how I imagine. Like that's not registering for me.
Yep.
You know, exactly. It's like, that was a failure, but okay, whatever. All right. Action film or comedy?
Let's see. Wow. I'm going to say comedy. I do like action films. It depends on what's going on, but I do like action films. One of the things I was just discussing through Instagram with one of my friends is that, we have this love for mob movies. I don't know why. It started as a child. Any mob movie that comes out, I'm like, or television show. Big fan of The Sopranos. I like other people's drama. That's what it is. Other people's drama, not my drama. So I want to watch it. That's how I am.
The only thing I can say that I would definitely see no matter what, and I have a friend who goes with me, is the Fast and the Furious franchise. We will always. Yeah, well, okay, that is
Never.
Star Wars. Okay. But Fast and the Furious, it could be Fast and the Furious 22. We're like, I'm going.
Hmm.
We know it's not real, but
Yeah.
something about the cars and the really
Hmm.
ridiculous crime being, it's like, okay, the heist of the century is like, okay, I'm in. I
Yep.
mean, because it's just never really going to happen, but
Yeah.
it's exciting to be a part of that.
Fun to see it. And like I said, it's other people's drama. Even if it is fictional, it's still their drama.
Now, we don't have this question on the scene here.
Okay.
And I'm not really one to do things that are like traditional or stereotypical, but I'm going to go there. Now, I'm going to have to ask. Now, I'm going to have to ask.
Okay. What's
Because
going
you
on?
are in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Could there be any chance that you enjoy any of Prince's music?
Oh, all of Prince's. I am a Prince fan even before I moved here because I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from Rockville, Illinois. But yeah, no, well, by the time, what was it, when 1999 came out, that was when my mom allowed me to listen to Prince. And after that, I mean, I had T-shirts and I would buy all the albums that came out or tapes back in the day because that's how old I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of them. Know all the songs. Yeah, big Prince fan. As a matter of fact, when he died, first of all, I didn't believe it because I was at work and somebody jumped up and was like, Prince died. I said, Prince.
Yes. Okay. I was like, you're a liar. You're a filthy liar.
So I'm looking, I was like, no. So yeah, and I at the time was still working in corporate America. So that night I went home, grabbed my camera because I knew they were doing all these things downtown, and I went down there and I took pictures of the crowd and just the love and just people singing the songs, and it was something to see. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that, even though my boyfriend at the time was like, "You should go down there by yourself. It's dark and whatever." I have these spike gloves that I wear, and then I have a monopod that I wear on my belt, and people actually think it's some sort of what's that? The thing, the horse prod.
Yeah.
So I didn't worry about any of that. I was like, I have to be a part of this. I'm here. And no. So I went down there and took tons of pictures and danced and sang and did all the things. And I did have to go to work the next day, so I couldn't stay all night. I really wanted to because the party lasted until the next day. Like they left First Avenue open and the block. I mean, people were partying all night long for that. And like I said, I had to go to work. So I had to come home at some point.
Let me stay there for just a second because as a photographer, I did not go immediately after he passed away. Did not.
Okay.
Even though my boss was like, "I need you to go home because I know you're no good." I was like, okay. So I went on his birthday for Prince Day, and I went to Daisy Park then, and then there was a purple party at the Aloft Hotel somewhere downtown, and just taking the pictures, but seeing all the people who were touched. People were coming from all over. It was a lot. It was a lot going on in Minneapolis then. Like just there were people everywhere traveling in on a consistent basis.
And there were signs up everywhere. "We love you, Prince. We will miss you." All the things. And then, excuse me, because that happened on a Thursday. So that Friday night, they had another party. Now, since I don't, at the time, wasn't working on the weekends, I went back down there and same thing. It was like, right in front of First Ave, all the people that were out, people are drumming and dancing and they're, taking pictures of his star. And I was in it. I was just all in the crowds and all. But it was, even though it was a sad thing that happened, it was still a beautiful thing to see all the people out and bring out all the love for him. So yeah, it was awesome.
Before we talk about one more thing, shout out to Dr. Tachi who is here. We have Chris Edwards in the building too. What's up, family? Let me go ahead and put it up for the people. Tell us who you are and what's your superpower.
Oh wow. Okay, so I'm Letta from Letta Photography. I think my superpower is being able to get anyone to laugh and have fun during a photo session. Excuse me. A lot of times people are nervous about it, or they, there's been times when I've worked with someone, they're like, well, my husband he doesn't want to do this and he's not into it. And I always seem to be able to bring that out in people. whether it's couples or families. I can get anybody to have fun. And it's because also deep down inside, I'm a little kid. So when it comes to working with families, I am able to get down and be that little kid that those kids need so that they can have fun during the photo session. Also because most of the time, well, for me, I'm more of a lifestyle photographer. So I like to do pictures that are just really showing you and capturing you having fun. I don't like to pose kids, especially because most of the time kids don't want to be posed. They don't really want to be there. Now, so when I start out with something, I have them just let them be and do their thing. And then later on, about maybe 15, 20 minutes into the photo session, they're comfortable enough for me or with me that now I can get you to do that group shot. But most of the time, it's just me running around, chasing you in the yard, chasing you in the park, chasing whatever, trying to capture all the fun stuff. And my boyfriend comes along with me sometimes to do behind the scenes videos. And what I always find that's really funny is that I'll look at the videos later on my phone. And I'm like, wow, all that was going on in the back.
Yeah.
Screaming, stomping, yelling, all these things. I don't see any of that because I'm concentrating on the couple or this portion of the family. So yeah, it's something that I really, really love. And it took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to photograph and the type of people I wanted to work with. And once I figured that out, it's just like, yeah, that's what I really, really love. I'd much rather work with families and couples than I would like doing weddings. I did weddings for a little bit. And don't get me wrong, I loved all the couples that I worked with and did the weddings, but it is a long day. And I don't want to call through 4,000 photos and just all the things. Oh yeah.
Weddings. First of all, they're a production. Okay. It's a mini production. Even the smallest, like I did an intimate wedding.
Okay.
And I was like, this is still a lot of work.
It is
work.
It is.
Because there are so many parts to be captured of the bride and the groom and the getting dressed and the makeup and the rings. And then and we haven't even got everybody together yet.
And getting everybody together and making sure, if you have a shot list that there's someone that can bring all the people over and where's so-and-so and somebody forgot the bouquet, just all kinds of things. And like I said, I had fun with the weddings that I did do, but I've done one elopement and that was okay. It was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, but still, like you said, there were still the details, capturing all the things. So it's just a lot. And so, no, I just don't want to do that anymore.
I'll do engagement photos, but
okay, that's fine.
Like doing the after stuff. They're like, so do you do the wedding? I was like, kids, if I do this wedding, you paying me. Because I'm gonna probably contract it out and be the second shooter. And
I've second shot a couple times too, and I'd much rather do that.
Right? It's like, let me do that.
Day. It's a long day and a long process.
Here's where I want to go, and here's how I want to tell this story. Because we're storytellers. You're a photographer. You know about telling a story. Let's talk about Act 1. This is your corporate life. I didn't want to do act and scene because I can only go so far. We're going to do Act 1. Tell us about your corporate life.
Ooh, corporate life. So I left corporate life in 2019 and worked for a company that I'm not going to mention the name for 13 years too long. And I always say that because over the years while I was working there, I was afraid to make that jump or that leap into doing my photography full time. I was still doing it part time here and there, doing anything from a wedding to people's graduation photos and things like that. But it got to the point in that environment, and like I said, I'm not going to say any names or anything like that. Working in a very toxic environment, working in, with everything from the microaggressions to just all the things. And so over the years, every year I'd say, oh, I'm going to leave. I'm going to make this leap. Oh, but wait, no, I'm not ready yet. I have to do this and that and this and that. And I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And finally, at the end of the year in 2018, I decided, okay, you know what? At the end of 2019, this is over with. I'm leaving. I'm saving money. I'm, making the plans to do this. And I had a conversation with my boyfriend and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, at the end of the year, I have to leave. And he was so sweet and he didn't question it. He was just like, okay, what's the plan? He didn't say, don't do that. You can't do that. What are we going to do? He's like, what's the plan? And we sat down and we talked about it. We budgeted it out, paying off bills, saving money. And it ended up being a little bit sooner than I thought I was going to leave. I was going to wait until December of 2019 to leave. But like I said, the aggressions, getting more work than others, just all the things. And so it kept changing. It went from December to November to October, and I just kept changing it. And finally, it was someone who I had worked with who had left the year before. And we would, chat every once in a while on through Instagram, or not on Instagram, but through text. And I was telling her, hey, I just really think I should leave. And she's just like, just do it. I was like, well, I can't. And then she, at the time, had an opportunity to go to California, and she wanted me to come along with her and take pictures of her on the beach. And I was like, okay. And I knew that I was not going to be able to get the time off because it was going to be in the middle of the week. And like I said, it had gotten to this point where they were really nitpicking me all the time. Every day I'd come in, there was just something new. And I would just be like, just do what you got to do and just ignore all the noise. And so finally, it got to that point. And she told me the date that we were going to go. And I was like, I sent a text to my boyfriend. I was like, so I guess my last day is August 19th. He's like, what happened? I said, I'll tell you when I get home. And that was it. Like I said, we had already started saving, had already started making the plans for it. It's just that I couldn't take it anymore. And I felt like this opportunity is here for a reason. I'm supposed to leave now. And even though we were going to go in September, until September, in August of that year, I was also a part of the Minnesota State Fair. They have a fine arts department. And so they do photographs, or they have an art gallery at the state fair. And I had been entered in that. And so like that day before, I was supposed to go for the pre-show. And I was just like, yeah, no, I'm done with this. August 19th. And not only that, excuse me, most of the time when people quit their jobs or put their notice in, they'll stay that whole work day. No, I was like, my last day is on a Monday. And not only is it on a Monday, I'm leaving at 11 a.m., not 11:05, not 11:07. I had plans to have lunch with my friend at the time too, the same person that we were going to be going to California. So yeah, that was it. I came in that day. I was so happy. And everybody's like, why are you so happy? It's my last day. And, I'm out of here. And I went around and said goodbye to people, even the people that didn't really want to say goodbye to me. I made a point to do it anyway. So
Petty.
a whole nother story for a whole nother session. But I did that and I was out of there. 11 o'clock, I was gone. My friend was downstairs, picked me up. We went to lunch and that was it. And I have not looked back, and I do not regret it at all. Even though I've had lots and lots of obstacles over the years, I would still never go back.
Okay, the parallels of these, these stories, the parallels here, because I was listening to you. So two things I want to talk about. I do want to talk about the importance of having a partner, because that makes a huge difference in making these kinds of transitions. But when you were telling your story about how this opportunity showed up and you knew you weren't going to get that time off, I think about our friend in the audience here, Ron Foster, who had an amazing opportunity show up. He had plenty of PTO and he was given the no. And it was like, okay. All right. I see this now. I mean, like, we keep hearing of how when you're part of this system, that you are giving your all to someone else's dream.
Yep.
And for some people, because everyone's not meant to be an entrepreneur or a freelancer, we are not saying that. Yeah. But it's interesting how we keep seeing that there are these places where they want to stifle you in some form or fashion. And even though you have the time off, they can tell you, no, you can't do this here at this time. And even, I like how you say microaggressions. It is what it is. I don't care if it's like semi-obvious or not. It's like, no, it's full stop aggression. You got something to say, you come on and say it. Because that's where we are. Now, you're better than me, because you went in and you were like, this is my last day. I'm happy. Let me go say goodbye to people. Gwendolyn was like, F you. And we went all in. I was like, take this damn job and shove it. So yeah.
No, I decided not to do that. And my way of handling that during that time, especially even up until the weeks of when it was time for me to go, and even before that, I just got real quiet. I didn't give any opinions. I didn't help anything. I didn't do any of the things. And as a matter of fact, what really kept me going, besides knowing that I'm not meant to be here, I have photography in my little cubicle. I had photos. And every time something or someone would say something stupid to me or send me some ridiculous email or whatever, I would just turn to my desk and look and go, this is where you're going. This is where you're going. And it didn't matter what they were, this is where you're going. And that's what kept me there until August, because I had to do something. I had to have something, to let me know that this is not the end point. These people are upset because you're making a move. And I also kept quiet about a lot of things that were going on in my business because, and I think it happens in every place, but especially in corporate America, the moment somebody finds out that you have a dream that you're trying to follow or you're trying to do something else, they will do everything in their power to try to block it.
Girl.
Everything. Everything.
I didn't bring any moonshine or wine. I didn't bring nothing today. You should have told me. You could have told me.
For me, it's too early. It's too early. I do have some wine, and I love that you love wine as well. But anyway, yeah, I had to. Yeah, and like I said, we can talk off camera sometimes if you want about all the things, because there's certain things I'm just not gonna say on here. But it was bad.
No, what? I appreciate you and your graciousness. I admire it, Gwendolyn. Oh, I got a box of matches. Oh, I'm gonna burn a lot of bitches. So we are going in. But let me say this. I love the fact that you kept something for you to keep you focused on what's ahead. I had a Prince song that's titled Count the Days.
Okay.
It became my anthem. It was like, let me turn this on real quick because I can't.
Okay.
I was like, I'm counting the days. Like I'm working towards this. But I also had Ron who kept telling me, Gwendolyn, you need to leave. So it's great to have friends who can see this bigger dream for you as well. But the partnership, I want to go back to that because I believe it is essential. Okay, well, not okay, it's helpful.
Yes.
To have a partner who you can sit with, who will be by your side and say, what's our plan? Because a number of photographers, I don't know for those who are out there, well, let's say this, a number of creatives and freelancers, it can sometimes be a struggle to have a partner who sees your vision and is all in with you. So tell me about the conversation of just saying, hey, love, I want to do this. Here's my moment. Or were you already doing your business before he came into your life?
A little bit of both. I was already doing it part-time on the side, and he has been with me for a while. When I was going to school, we were together, and then we broke up. That's a whole nother story. And then we got back together 5 years later. But he's always seen the journey. He was there when I was going to school and when I was working part-time and staying up late at night doing photo sessions and using him, to test lighting and things like that. So he has been a part of the journey the entire time. He knew that I was frustrated at that place because there were days when I would come home, I'm tired, my hands hurt, my arms hurt, I'm crying because of some ridiculous thing that the person did to me. And I do remember one specific time, and this was before I was going to leave, but it was like I think in the middle of the year, so maybe June or July. And I woke up one day, I used to get up at 4:30 so that I can get to work early, work on my own stuff, and then start working. That's a whole other thing too. But I remember waking up and the alarm clock went off and I was just, I can't do this. I just want to say, screw all this. You guys can have all that stuff. I'll come back and get my other stuff later. I'm not going in. But then I looked over my boyfriend sleeping and I was like, I can't do that to him. I'm not going to do that. We're in this together. I'm not going to just pop up and do that. So, but yeah, so he knew the entire time. There were times he wanted to come to the job. I was like, you cannot come down to the job.
He said, I got some hands for him. I got some hands.
You cannot do that. Please don't do that. So But yeah, he was with me the whole time, so he understood and he saw the frustration. And he didn't like it when I was coming home crying, telling him about something that someone said or did or whatever. And he was ready. He knew it was coming. He just didn't know exactly when. And so that's why that conversation went so well, because he already knew, I'm getting ready to leave and I'm here to support you. And he has been supportive and had my back the entire time.
This is a great segue then, because how did you find your way into photography?
Ooh, that is a long, I'll try to make it short. So as a child, we always had, my grandfather used to take pictures of the family, just a little point and shoot camera. And then I have a cousin who was into photography. He basically did all the family stuff. He did weddings and things like that. And so I kind of had an inkling about it, but not really. Oh, let me back up. The very first time I really, really was interested is I used to be in 4-H. And so I was studying my 4-H pledge one day. And within this book, it had also all these other different programs that you could be a part of. And so I remember seeing this picture, and it was a photography section. And it was this person giving this illusion. So they had the person standing way in the back and another person in the foreground holding their arms up, making it look like they were holding that person. And I remember staring at that photo and going, how did they do that? I want to know how to do that. And that was back when I was like in 6th grade. But at the time, growing up in a family, I was poor. We were poor. We did not have a lot of money. So I knew mentioning I would even want a camera was just not going to happen. So skip ahead a few years. I'm in high school. And like I said, my grandfather always had a point and shoot camera that he would take pictures of me, family members and everything. And so what ended up happening is that our church group was going on a trip to Wisconsin Dells. And my grandfather would buy like a new point and shoot camera like every 2 or 3 years. And so he had just bought one, and he had his older Kodak. Remember the Kodak 110 flat camera with the big blue flash? And so I asked if I could borrow that. And he was like, you can just have it. And so went to Wisconsin Dells, took pictures. They all turned out horrible. But, again, I had just started. And so from there, I would just play with that camera. And then eventually, years later, I was able to buy another point and shoot camera with a little zoom, and you couldn't tell me nothing. So I did a lot of selfies of myself when selfies weren't really selfies, I guess. And just taking pictures of everything from, flowers, people, whatever, just always taking pictures. And then I was in my mid-20s at the time, and I had a roommate, and she would see me like sitting on the floor after I get my film back, because that was back when I was, shooting with film. And so I would, have these boxes of photos, and I'm organizing them, and I'm labeling them, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm ordering new film. And she's like, why don't you just become a photographer? And it had never dawned on me. And I was like, I could do that. And after that, I went to the library, I kid you not, and I probably checked out every book about photography that I could. And I wanted to read and I wanted to learn. So I'd go home, and like I said, at the time I had this point and shoot camera. I think it was Maxima or something like that. And so I would try to, practice those skills. I'd see something in there. Oh, I'm going to try this. Oh, I'm going to try that. And then finally, I decided, okay, I should probably go to school for this just to learn some more. And so I ended up going to MCTC, which is Minneapolis Community and Technical College. I went there, learned all the rest of the technical skills, graduated from the program, and for a whole year I didn't shoot anything, because at the time that was when my boyfriend and I broke up, and I was in this whole depression mode for a year. I didn't pick up a camera for a whole year. Finally moved. I was living with somebody at the time. Finally moved and decided, okay, it's time to pick up the camera again. And I did. And then after that, like I said, I started doing anything from, someone say, oh, I need some graduation photos, or, oh, I need, this wedding, that type of thing. And I just kept going from there. And I bought my first digital camera in 2007, I think. It was a Pentax. Only had 6.
Yeah, I know those days.
It worked for that time. And I just kept going. And then I started getting, opportunities. And then I started working in corporate America. And like I said, I was doing it here and there part-time, but always wanting to leave and do it more. But, even though I'd have PTO, I could take some time off and do certain things, but it just wasn't happening. And speaking of which, when you had mentioned that whole thing about your friend who, had the PTO time and wanted to take it off, I remember one particular incident where one of my friends had referred me for a wedding, and they were getting married like that next month. So the wedding was going to be in August, and she contacted me in July. And so I had already had some pre-scheduled time off. And so I was like, have you guys done an engagement session? And she's like, no, we'd love to do that. And so on that Wednesday, I had that Wednesday off, it was the middle of the day. And that Tuesday, while I was at work, there was something that was going to happen. Like there was going to be some sort of big meeting, or corporate meeting, and all these people were coming in. And I already had the time off, and I already had it approved. And I kid you not, one of the supervisors was like, well, do you have to have this day off? I said, I've already planned this. It was the supervisor above him who was like, well, when did this happen? And so they're like trying to verify when I had the time off. And I was just like, I have the time off. I'm not coming in. I don't care what's going on. It's not, I don't care. And I knew I was going to be doing that engagement session that Wednesday. So I did. They picked me up because she wanted to go to a place in Stillwater. She had found this like waterfall thing. And so we went, she picked, her and her fiance at the time picked me up with their cute little puppies. And we drove over to Stillwater and we did the engagement session. And then they got married 2 days later, you know, on a Saturday. And I did the wedding for them. And it was a 2-day event. So all day Saturday, I did the event. And then all day Sunday, we did another event. Ooh. It was beautiful. It was fun, but I don't want to do weddings anymore.
She said, I am over the weddings.
But yeah, it was one of those things where it's just like, you know, when I think about when you mention things like, you know, PTO and that type of thing, when you are your own boss, you can take that time off and not have to ask permission from anyone. And that was another thing that I was looking forward to. I was tired of asking permission for time off. You shouldn't have to ask permission as far as the time off. If you have it, you should, you know, be able to give it. And all that mess about, oh, well, we have to make sure there's plenty of people here in the team. There's plenty of people here to cover.
Yes.
There's always plenty of people to cover.
You know darn well there's plenty of people.
But again, that's a whole nother story. I had stories for days, but we're not going to go there.
We'll have to do one about work. Because Ron is saying that he can relate to your journey. Yeah. Again, you two are, when I say parallel, it is parallel. He said Pentax was his first camera. Hey, DS is here. Shout out to DS. And man, let me keep rolling because I want to talk about, like you've already shared with us how that happened. So now let's talk about Act 2. This is your second chapter. Same book. Different chapter, new chapter of life.
Well, prior to it being Laeti Photography, it was Golden Light Photography by Laeti Golden. It was way too much. And I can't remember exactly when I decided, I want to say, when did I decide to change it? Earlier on in 2000, I changed it to Laeti Photography just to keep it short and also to make sure my name was in there. But Laeti Photography, I'm a lifestyle photographer. Families and couples is my focus. Doesn't mean that I won't do other things. I've done headshots for people, events and things like that, but that's really, truly my focus. I'm all about capturing those true, fun, genuine moments. And especially when it comes to family, the real moments is like I call them, not the superposed ones. And I have, you know, no issues with when it comes to other photographers who do that. That's just not my style. It never has been. Even when I was in school, I struggled with the whole sit here and pose and do those things. It's just like, no, I want people to just be who they are. And even though you still at some point have to kind of guide people into certain poses, that's kind of how I do it. I let it kind of fall into that. I give you prompts and say certain things just to let you, you know, be you. And I always capture the more authentic moments that way than having someone to pose. That's just who I am. And I love it. And always surprised even me when I go back and I'm looking at the photos, I'm like, wow, well, how did I get that?
Right.
Okay.
It's like you hired a professional. Yeah. And I'm thinking about a young lady, her child was 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
And she was running and gunning, and for her, she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, there's nothing wrong here.
No.
Nothing wrong. We are good. And she's like, are you sure you got something? It's like, trust me. And then we showed them, they're thinking, when did all this happen? It's like, you hired a professional, did you not?
I have a story for that too. I have a family that I've worked with a couple times, and we did the first in-home family session. And yes, it was all over the place. She has 3 kids right now. So 2-year-old, I believe the middle child is 10 or 11, and then the oldest one is 13. And so it was the same thing. It was, they were running around the house, they're doing all the things, and she was so worried that I hadn't captured anything. As a matter of fact, right after I had done that, I had sent like a survey and just asked, how's the experience? And I hadn't had a chance to read it. So I'm on my way to the store one day and I see she's calling and I'm like, what is happening? And I was like, hello? And she's like, look, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what? Sorry for what? I'm so sorry about what I said. I'm like, I haven't read it yet. And I said, the reason why I send that out, that helps me to know what I did wrong, or, in your eyes, what did I do wrong? What can I improve on? I'm not going to be upset about you saying a certain thing, because this is also a kind of a learning experience, as I was also making a little bit of a transition into how I was doing the family couple thing. And so I had no problems with it. And she was just, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And then when I read, and she kept apologizing until she had seen the photos. Same thing. I uploaded the photos. I used QuickTime. I uploaded those. So just the proof so she can see them. And she was like, oh my God. And I was so worried. How did you do that? It's my job.
It's my job. Okay. Quick side note, sidebar, flag on the plate. People, you're hiring a professional photographer to do the thing that you assume is just clicking a button.
Oh yeah.
And you wonder how we get what we get, because we're professionals.
Mm-hmm. As my artist friend says, it took me 30 years to do this. And I tell people it took me 40 years to take that photo. And I think of it that way because of all the training, of all the all the things. It takes a while to get to that point. So yeah, this is why I can do it. And it, to the outside world, people who don't understand that, they do just think that you're just clicking a button and that's it. But if it were that easy, everybody would do it. And if it were that easy, you wouldn't have hired me. You wouldn't have hired me.
It's like you called me because you couldn't do it. So let me do what I was paid to do. Oh, that's awesome. Though. Exactly. It is. People are always surprised, like, oh my goodness, they actually did that? Like, you did that? It's like, yeah, yes. These eyes, we see things that you're like, that's nothing. It's like, that's the best photography spot ever. Mm-hmm. Like we just see it. Like we see the light. Absolutely. We see the light and we see the moment.
Yep, exactly.
So, but before, I like how Chris says that point. DS has a question here before I go to our next topic, because I do want to talk about networking.
Okay.
DS says, what photo are you most proud of? And do you have a favorite and why?
Wow, there's so many. Let me think. That's such a hard question because I feel like a lot of my photos are my favorites. But the ones that I will say, and I'm going to kind of put them in a group, are the ones where I capture a special moment between the mom and the child, daughter or son. Those are usually my favorites, or the silly expression that I got from a child that, you just didn't expect. Or there's also the session that I talked about, the family that I did. The 2-year-old at the time was a little agitated, and there were a few times when he was crying and that type of thing. And that's normal because that's what kids do. But then right after that, capturing those moments of him smiling, he's giving me smiles. And I just caught some of the most beautiful, fun photos of him, even though 5 minutes ago or 5 minutes prior to that, he was crying and screaming bloody murder. But those are the types. And I would say when it comes to family sessions, that's really, I don't have a particular one that's like my absolute favorite. I'd have to look at that session and go, well, that was that favorite one from that session. But there's just so many. That's a hard one.
He said, that's the hard one. Let me also ask this question he has here. Okay. So what's the most challenging shoot you've ever done?
Oh, let's see. Wow. We
all have one or two.
We all have one or two. The
I was like,
challenging
I
one. Uh, wow. I would. That is, I mean, it's like you put me on the spot, and now I can't think of anything. And of course, when we leave, I'll be like, "What? Oh yeah, there was this one." The most challenging, the wedding, the 2-day wedding.
She said that weddings are a job.
It was fun. It was a lot. I was exhausted afterwards, but that was the most challenging because of it not only being the 2-day event, it was like a 2-day event that was a little bit different. Like the first day was more kind of casual and laid back because that's the way the couple wanted it. And the second day was a little bit more formal. So I would say trying to make sure that I'm capturing all of that at the same time. It wasn't necessarily difficult. It was more tiring because it was a 2-day event and trying to make sure that everybody's, included in the photos. That's what I can think of right now. There's another one, but I don't really want to on the air. That was really challenging.
Not sure that. Ron Foster here, he says, our photos are our children's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of photos in all over the house. And I like how Black Eighth Element, shout out to you. He says, I have tons of children. As in like tons of photos. Is that what you saying? Lord bless. Lord bless. Let me do this. Let us take a drive down Networking Drive.
Okay.
I just said Networking Lane, but I didn't like Networking Lane per se.
Okay.
Boulevard, Networking Boulevard. Let's talk about that because I don't believe it's just me.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's not just me because I mean, I know
No.
But what is it about some photographers, and I'm gonna go so far and just say some creatives, freelancers, entrepreneurs, like all the things, some people, but a lot of photography in the photography space where we just have this sort of thing about networking and connecting with other people who are also in the same industry. I find it so peculiar because we don't all do the same thing.
Right.
Yes, you're a photographer, but you may just be weddings.
Yeah.
Or you may just do maternity. Or you may do commercial food photography.
Okay.
Right. So if I got somebody, like if someone comes to you and says, hey man, can you do my 5-year-old's birthday party? It's like, I'm a commercial food photographer. I don't deal with cheering. Because people see we do all this. Like, no, we don't do all the things.
No, even though we may be capable of understanding how to do it, but it doesn't mean we do all the things. That is so true. And I have referred people. There's been a couple of times, not this year so far, but last year was a couple of people who reached out to me about weddings, and I just referred them right on to a couple of photographers that I know because I'm not doing that anymore. And I have no problem with that. I think that's a part of it. That's part of networking. You're supposed to help each other. And I think that over time, it was a lot of gatekeeping, especially way back in the day. And it's still a little bit, not as much, but still a lot of gatekeeping. I remember when I first started too, and I really wanted to get into it. And like I said, the roommate at the time I was living with, who encouraged me to go into it, she was going to school for hair at the time. And so there was a girl that worked there or was at the school who also did photography. And she asked for me. I had no idea that she was going to do that, but she was like, so my roommate is just now getting into photography. Do you have any tips? Could you help her? No. What did you think I was going to do? Steal all your stuff? Steal your ideas? She just flat out said, no, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to do any of those things. And I just think that's weird and kind of mean. I'm always willing to help people. And I understand now if you're trying to get me to be, to create a course for you, that's a different thing. But if you're just asking me, kind of a few tips of how to get started or what should I do, I have no problem with that. But I don't understand why some photographers have a problem with that. And they think that you're going to steal their stuff or I don't know. I don't understand that.
I keep coming back to that, like in my head as I have more interactions with people, I
Mhm.
keep going back to there has to be a combination of scarcity mindset, but then
Yep.
also you're not as confident and solid as
Mhm.
you want the world to believe because Gwendolyn,
Mhm.
I have said it, can't nobody tell me nothing. I don't care what Susie doing, what Bobby doing. Don't nobody
Right.
this is Gwendolyn's lane. This is my
Right.
lane. I'm gonna go out here and do what I got to do and get
Mhm.
whatever I have to get. I mean, like the
Exactly.
world is this big. You know how much
Yeah.
pie that is? That's a lot of pie.
Exactly. It is.
We can all get a piece of the pie. But what you mentioned, so when I got out of my photography classes,
Mhm.
we all exchanged numbers and we all
Okay.
knew which each other was doing. Now we're all in the same area, like we're in the Dallas
Right.
Fort Worth area, so we're not like this, but we're kind of like this. But if
Mhm.
I was available for something and they
Mhm.
weren't, they passed it this way. Now we
Yeah.
still have to make sure it's the right customer connection, right?
Right.
At
That's
least
true.
someone knows. But if I was busy
Mhm.
or it's not what I did, it wasn't the style that I do. I was like, "Oh, you should try
Mhm.
out so and so." We
Exactly.
shared business.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand this whole deal of, it's like I don't it's like how do y'all get around the world because networking is about servicing other people. It's not about
Exactly.
you. It's not
Mhm.
about you. It's a community thing. Like we can all rise together.
Exactly.
But
But I think, like you said, it's that scarcity mindset that you're going to take something away from my business. First of all, every photographer shoots a different way. You could put all of us in a room and say, I want you to take a picture of this vase. Everybody's photo is going to look different. It
right.
doesn't matter that you all are, it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to look different. So I don't understand that fear. I don't understand that scarcity of you not wanting to share because I could never shoot like you and you can't shoot like me, period. It's not going to happen.
And for
So
some
I don't
people,
understand that. Yeah.
it's not even the photos themselves, but the experience with that
Mm-hmm.
person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know for the audience, I know you all have heard of Creative Soul out of
Yep.
Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Karn and Reg, they do this amazing thing with the kids. It is a full-on
Okay.
production, right?
Mm-hmm.
Full-on production. So I had a chance to be an assistant. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
cool.
gonna go backstage and see the magic happen. Man,
Mm-hmm.
these young kids, their parents were driving. So they came to Fort Worth. They had parents drive from San Antonio
Wow.
and
Okay.
Houston and Austin. These
Okay.
are all like 4 to 5 hour drives.
Mm-hmm.
Photography.
Yeah.
I don't think y'all heard me. I don't think y'all understand. These parents got on, and the waiting list is a list. Okay. They got
Mm-hmm.
on the list and drove to Fort Worth for
Oh,
photography for their child. It's an experience.
that is awesome. That's
So,
cool. That's really cool.
oh man, I was like, I wish I kind of had when I was a kid. Um,
Exactly.
you know, we were at JC Penney and Sears.
Oh,
There was
JC
glamour
Penney,
shots back when I got to high school.
Kmart back in the day too.
Kmart. Yeah, they did have a portrait thing, didn't they? Right, I forgot about Kmart had their portrait thing. So, we didn't really get
Every session
too much.
at Kmart, my mom always argued with the photographer about the lighting. It was hilarious, and she wasn't a photographer. That's going to make her too dark. You need to do this. Move this over here.
Girl,
What? Why are you doing?
look. Okay, so I see the essence questions in here. I know we're kind of moving here and there, and the time is moving so fast. But I do find it interesting that with this change in how we as a society adopted having these personal private services like a hairstylist, a makeup artist, a photographer, one of the questions I got a lot was, can you light XYZ skin? Now, if you are a person about your craft, be it hair, makeup, or photography, you can do all the things.
Yeah.
If you're about your business. I was
Right.
like, well, yeah, I'm a professional. Of course I can. What kind of question is that? And then you see some of the photos that someone else did. And I thought, you actually paid for that?
I thought I was the only one.
Wait a minute. How are these people getting business? Like, I don't understand. We don't have all that time. We don't have all that time. Hold on. DS has 2 questions. He says, With smartphones getting so advanced, how do you see professional photography evolving? Now,
Um,
DS, hold on, hold on. DS, you coming here with all this carnage. We, we, we're going to answer this question, but you bringing it. You are bringing them today. All right, let it go on and
you know, even with smartphones being more advanced and more people are using them, the one thing for me is that the experience is different. And yes, maybe you can shoot a wedding with your phone. But when it comes to that person deciding that they want to enlarge those images or, you know, that type of thing, no, I don't think so. And plus, I've never seen a serious photographer at a wedding shooting with their phone. I don't care how advanced the phones get. You still can't have that same experience and those same type of images that are going to show up after you've taken the photos as you will on an iPhone. Now, I use my iPhone a lot for like just quick photos and things like that when I put them on Instagram. But I would never shoot a photo session with my iPhone. Never. Even if my camera died on me, because that's why you have a backup.
girl,
You bring the backup.
the
But
backup,
no,
miss the backup.
there's just some things you're not going to be able to do and capture with that iPhone. It's not going to look the same. You can only do so much with the iPhone.
I'm going to tag on to yours because I do
Mhm.
remember a few years back there was like some young person who was bringing on to the stage doing all this iPhone photography, and then he had a wedding couple who was like, yeah, you can do it, sure. And it, you know, it was a thing. I think it was a thing because there's always a
Okay.
thing trend.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to this in terms of evolution. We know there are tons of things happening, like with AI and what have you. We
Yeah.
are using those tools to turn around our work faster.
Yes.
But that
Yes.
still goes back to experience. When people talk
Exactly.
about me, my photos are nice. Okay. Now I've
Mhm.
seen some really, really good work. I'm like, it ain't that nice, but it's nice. You know what I'm saying? It's, you know. But what is talked about more than anything is the time they had and the time that their family had. It's
Mhm.
not the photos themselves.
Exactly.
It's about experience. It's about
It
memories.
is. And it's about, yeah, like you said, it's that experience. That's what the family or the couple is going to remember most of all. And if you don't make that experience fun, I don't care how great the photos turn out. All they're going to see or all they're going to do is remember what happened. And that's why, too, during my sessions, I talk a lot. I laugh with people. We dance. We do all the things because I want everybody to have fun and everyone to feel comfortable. And so, yeah, that's very important to do that in order to have that experience for the people. Because, like I said, they're not going to remember. Yeah, when they see the photos, they're going to love them.
Mhm.
But if they didn't have fun during that session, that's all they're going to think about and that's all they're going to see. And especially, like I said, if they didn't feel comfortable, I usually give guidance to my families and couples. I don't necessarily tell them exactly what to wear, but just
Mhm.
kind of give them some guidance and then just explain too. That's another thing. Back in the day, I used to always tell people everything shows up on film.
Doesn't it though?
So if you have to think about what you're wearing. If your clothes are wrinkled or dirty or whatever, you need to think about that. Everything shows up. Everything. So I
Everything.
always tell people that and give them guides, you know, as far as colors and things like that too. But yeah, all those things. And it's that experience. And the people that I've worked with, I would think that they had fun. Well, at least they say it on my Google
Right.
reviews.
For the
I hope
review, they had a
fun.
good
I
time.
hope they had fun.
We're gonna
But
make
yeah.
this one our last question of the day. It's a great way to
Oh,
end it. What's
wow.
the best advice you have received in photography?
Let's see. I received so much. I would say, um, knowing your camera equipment, knowing your camera equipment and being prepared for it. Always be prepared for something could happen. That's just kind of my thing because it doesn't matter how perfectly planned you've planned everything for the photo session, especially when it comes to a wedding. There's always going to be something that gets in the way. So always remember that, and then also too, remember that you are the professional. And there's times when I'm pretty sure this happened to all photographers where you kind of freeze up. There might be something where you freeze up on something, or you feel like you're not getting the right poses, and then you have to stop and think and take a deep breath and go, but I am the professional and I can do this. And then keep going, because you have to do the shoot anyway. So
that's a great way to end it. I
yeah.
love that. Because something's going to happen.
There's always something.
That's all life. Something's going to happen. I was like, there's no battery in my camera? What? Yeah. We've had some stuff. As Dia says, great stuff. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Let me do this because I want people to connect with you. Okay. And get a chance to experience your photography. And maybe they have some family members in Minneapolis or in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So you can connect with Letta. She's on Instagram under Letta Photography. She also has a link tree. Now, should I assume that your link tree link is also in your Instagram bio?
It is. And it has all the things. If you want to know more or link to anything, contact page. If you want to see other things that I've done, it's all in there.
Sweet. Please go to the Instagram, link up with Letta. Let me also do one more thing in terms of housekeeping, because I got this housekeeping. You can be inspired and be informed. Gwendolyn, I actually do know a little something, believe it or not. Who knew? You can sign up for the GRH Jack newsletter at grhjack.com. There is a link in my YouTube bio. So you can go right there into the little link tree and get yourself some good stuff.
Oh yeah, I'll sign up for that. I'm always willing to learn. That's another thing.
Right.
You always have to keep learning in this business. That's just how it works. You don't just one and done, because things change too much.
With this technology, everything is changing. Mm-hmm. Everything is changing. Letta, thank you so much. I mean,
thank you.
An hour to go by that fast. I was like,
I know.
We just started.
I know. I wish we could talk longer, but I understand that. No, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for all the things that you do. I try my best to do and watch some of your things on YouTube and follow you. And I think you do amazing work. I love everything that you do. I love all your behind the scenes, all the things. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
I appreciate that. But you know what? Here's the deal. When we talked about networking and it's about a community, we are real about that. So I'm saying it. If you guys are not following Letta, please go out and follow her, connect with her, because we do this together. We need each other to get through this thing called life. Ooh,
yes, we do.
There you go. Drop my print line. All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you're watching now or in the replay. We will see you all on the next Small Biz Bite. Thank you for watching another episode of Small Biz Bites with Gwendolyn R. Houston Jack, where we chat with other creatives and small business owners about their journey. And we also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the GR Houston Jack YouTube channel, where you can get the latest and greatest.